Excellent. All right, let's see. Lecture number 3 is going to be called Fast Radio Bursts. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't think this one is new. I'm pretty sure this has been around for about the last year. So this might be an audio file that you guys are familiar with. Let's have a look anyway.
Fast radio burst is very much like what it sounds. It's a burst, a very fast burst of radio waves. It comes from outer space, a long way away. And by fast, I mean really fast. So it starts and stops in about 1,000th of a second. So you click your fingers and it's finished. Fast radio bursts are a real mystery. We don't really understand exactly where they come from or what actually makes them. And there are a lot of open questions that we really don't have an answer for. There are probably more theories about what makes fast radio bursts than there are actual detections of these things. So since 2007, we've only had 20, but there are probably 30 or 40 different theories on what makes them. The most interesting thing about this burst is the fact that we found it with the Australian Square Kilometre Array Pathfinder. So that is, it wasn't really obvious that we would be able to do this as well as we ended up being able to do it. So this telescope is really a fantastic telescope. In fact, it's probably the best telescope on the planet at the moment for finding these bursts. And so whereas in the past it's taken 10 years to find 20 bursts, once we're really going with this new instrument, we'll be able to find them much more quickly, one or two every week.
And can I just ask, was that audio clear for you guys? Because I'll be honest, I can't even hear it clearly on my own computer and I'm sitting right next to the speaker. Could you guys hear that? I felt like the audio quality on that recording was very muffled. Let me see if I can find a slightly better version.
A fast radio burst is very much like what it sounds. It's a very fast burst of radio waves. It comes from outer space, a long way away. And by fast, I mean really fast. So it starts and stops in about 1,000th of a second. So you click your fingers and it's finished. And fast radio bursts are a mystery. We don't exactly understand where they come from or what actually makes them. And there's a lot of open questions that we really don't have an answer for. There are probably more theories about what makes fast radio bursts than there are actual detections of these things. So since 2007, we've only had 20, but there are probably 30 or 40 different theories on what makes them. The most interesting thing about this burst is the fact that we found it with the Australian Square Kilometre Ray Pathfinder. So that is, it wasn't really obvious that we would be able to do this, as well as we ended up being able to do it. So this telescope is really a fantastic telescope. In fact, it's probably the best telescope on the planet at the moment for finding these bursts. So whereas in the past it's taken 10 years to find 20 bursts, once we're really going with this new instrument, we'll be able to find them much more quickly, 1 or 2 every week. And that will blow open the field. We'll be able to do much more detailed studies of these things, get better statistics, understand what, hopefully understand what they are and where they're coming from.
All right. So I just want to make clear that version, that recording we just heard was a person like myself reading the transcript. The first one that wasn't clear enough, that was probably the original. Okay, this person is obviously a much clearer speaker, and the quality of the recording is better though, so we can actually understand what he's talking about. All right. So once again, would anybody like to volunteer, or should I pick someone else? Let's try picking someone. Let's see. Frankie, would you like to have a go?
Okay,
How are you today? Good?
you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, good.
So this particular lecture had two main kind of parts to it. Okay. Other than the first, I can tell you there was a starting introduction where it basically just said something along the lines of fast radio bursts are really fast. Not something that's particularly useful, but that was our opening, right?
Yeah.
And then there were like two main ideas that were discussed. Do you remember roughly what they were?
There are different theories about the fast radio bursts.
Yeah, good, right? So there are a lot of theories, right, about where they come from or something like, or what they are.
Yeah,
Right.
what makes them?
Now, do we know which one is correct? So do we know whether or not these theories are correct or true or anything like that?
We don't know. We don't know the exactly answer.
Yes, good, right? So basically, however, right, we don't know if they are true. So in the original, he said something like, these are mysterious. We don't know where they come from, but there's a lot of theories. Okay,
Yeah.
so the first main idea is basically we don't really know anything about these bursts. Okay, and then the second main idea, you remember what that was talking about? Then he started talking about something else.
Talk about telescope.
Perfect. And what was he saying about the telescope? What was the general idea?
We can use the telescope to find the burst. Very fast.
Good, right? So we can use this, let's call it this great new telescope, right? Something, I can't remember what it was called, the Australian something telescope, right? But there's this new telescope to find them much faster, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's this idea that there's this new telescope or new technology that's going to help us out. And that's it. Right? So you can see the lecture was quite long, but this lecture actually didn't contain as many different points as the previous one did. I'd definitely say it's a much easier one. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, very well done. Those were exactly the correct answers. Yeah, fantastic. So does everyone have any questions, by the way? If there's something you guys don't understand, then please let me know straight away. We were pretty lucky. This particular speaker also has an Australian accent, just like me. And that might be the reason why it's a little bit easier to understand him, right? So as somebody said, as Ivy said in the chat, if a person reads a little bit slower and speaks a little bit clearer, it's obviously much easier to understand. However, I will warn you guys in advance, you do have to get used to speakers from different backgrounds and who have different speeds of speech. Right, because that's something you can't control in the real test. And also, you will have to deal with recordings that sometimes have a bit of background music and interruption in the background. Yeah. Okay, excellent. Well, very, very well done. Got the correct answer in one go.